evening takes us.
We're live.
Oh. I didn't see you push the button.
Only just then. Hello, everyone. Ooh.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh my God, so many people in here already. Stella, another half hour to wait. We'll still be awake. 2:30 a.m. Bless you.
Well, it was probably 45 minutes if you're still awake, Stella.
Hi, Stella and everyone. Miss Lindsay's lives are going to start replay while waiting for the big live. Greetings from a very cold, windy and rainy Minnesota, says Gail. Dawn says hello again. Thorax Gargoyle says hi. Marianne, hello, hoofy people everywhere. Lisa's here. Hi, everyone. Susan Scheid is here. Stella says hi, Jeanette, still awake. At 9 o'clock. That was at 3 minutes past 9. Good morning, everyone from Australia. Good morning, Vicky. God, you guys. Even when I was over there, I didn't get that early. Vivian's here. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Vivian.
Heather's here. Hi, everyone. Just caught up with today's mini live. Awesome.
Hi,
Maylin says hi. I told you about it on the walk, though.
You did.
Lydia says hi, everyone. Just listening to Lindsay on the mini live. We're waiting for this one. I hope it inspires you all. Hello, says Jenny. Jeanette says me too. Pia says, I just say hello and move upstairs in my bed to watch the rest there. I have had a strange headache for a few days now, so I need to lie down, but I will be at least listening. Oh, bless you. I hope you feel better soon.
Get well soon, Pia.
I was in the hospital last night, and it's the reason I didn't do a live last night, because Hoofing Granny, my mum, has got pneumonia, and she was very poorly with a very high temperature, and Tim and I sat in urgence for 4.5 hours last night. But she's home. We're on top of it. She's got antibiotics. She's very weak, but we're pushing through. But so sorry for that last night. Becky says hello, everyone. Angela says hi all. Marianne says feel better soon, Pia. Yes, feel better soon. Everybody's jumping in. Angie Medler's here. Stella says hope you feel better. Sigrun says hello. Lydia says, I see there are 30 watching at the moment, but only 5 likes. Come on, everyone. Like the YouTubes to keep HM and TPW relevant. Yes, please. Just go. Boop.
Like, subscribe, all those other things that everybody tells you to do.
Click the notification bell so you get notified when we go live.
I'm rubbish.
Thank you, Lydia. Kay's here with her hearts. Charlie Brown's here. Hello. Camilla says, good evening. Good evening. It was a warm, sunny day, and I just got in from fencing another part for the horses. We'll open it tomorrow, and they will do zoomies. They will. That's
the best, isn't it?
Videoing them doing the zoomies. Maylin says, hey. Becky says, hey, Lydia. Yes, Lydia, great idea. Bethan's here. Hello from Gran Canaria.
Hi, Bethan. How's the holiday?
She's having a lovely time over there with her boys. Ulrich says hello, boys of all ages. Therese says hi. Laurie, looking forward to seeing you all this fall. We're looking forward to it too. Kelly's here. Charity Hager's here. Hello again from North Carolina. Sent your channel to my farrier.
Let's hope he's happy about that. He or she.
Prayers to your mum. Thank you very much. Thank you much. Good vibes for your mum. Yep. Thank you. I hope she will feel better soon. She's okay. Tim's looking after her at the moment. He's in the front room. Hello, everyone. This is Sandra from Czech.
Hi, Sandra.
Hello, dear Lindsay and Gary. Already liked and been subscribed for years. I know.
Bless you. We love you, Charlotte.
Jeanette says, must be careful with pneumonia. I hope the antibiotics kicking quickly. I know. We are being careful. We are. We've caught it early, very early. Like as soon as it basically began, I had her straight down to the urgence.
It's been a few days of hospitals, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There's been a few days of hospitals.
It has. Gary's mother-in-law hasn't been very well either.
Yeah, she's on the mend. The medication's working. It's making a huge difference. So that's good.
Kicking in. Oh, my left eye's doing funny things. Best wheeling hishes. I was reading that as then. Thank you very much. Monica says,
some sleep.
I think so. Monica says hello. I've just been staring at the screen all day doing the work we do, Gary. Thank you. Get well wishes. Tim Bruce says morning from New Zealand. Morning,
Hi,
Tim.
Tim.
Good to see you. Okay. What we're going to look at tonight? What we're going to look at tonight? Well, I did think that I would put up if we put up an image of a rotated foot, and then we can show what the world thinks is happening. And I haven't prepared anything. Honestly, I haven't. So what I need is I'll go to my laminitis sheet. Hold on a minute, because I just need to remove a few things that are on there that I can't show. Hold on one momento. Okay, I know what we'll do. We'll use this one, and we'll use hold on, because I don't want to show you everything that's going on in here. Here it is. And we'll use just talk amongst yourself a minute. I don't know what to use. I don't want anybody to sort of see.
Bear with.
Okay, we'll use.
I'm not going to start singing, and I'm certainly not doing a jig.
I can't use that one. Oh my God, which one do I use?
There's so many.
We'll use this one as well. Copy. Okay. All right. Oops. Oh, hello. Right. Now I've got some images. God, this isn't great telly, is it? When we're just there going what we're going to use. Let's just pull this over here.
Spur of the moment.
It is literally spur of the moment. Right. Let's just get in here.
Spur of the moment, real stuff.
Because I've not prepared a thing, because we've been busy, but we can talk about this. Okay. Tell me if you can see that.
Yep. Needs to be bigger.
I know. Let me just give you a moment. I've got a tiny little one in there as well.
Ooh.
Okay. Right. So here we go. Here is an example. This was one of the first. Oh God, my nose is running. This was one of the first sequential set of X-rays that I was able to get hold of back in the day, where an owner had diligently managed to get hold of the X-rays of her horse, who had previously to this been barefoot. And then she started to go lame, and that was around this time here. Oh, sorry about my nose. This was around this time here. So they put shoes on her because they believed that P3 was beginning to rotate from the capsule. So what we can do here is we can draw some lines on it. I don't know where this is going to take us. I have no idea, but we're going to go with it. Let's make that line a little bit bigger. And now, obviously, these are just lines. There's no specific measurements here. All we're doing is just following some lines on an X-ray. That's all we're doing. So we can see here, if we go to the top of the coronary groove, which is here, just there, that's where the coronary band begins, or the band that you see, the hair to horn line. And you can see that this hoof wall is not looking too grand. It's got a bit of stuff going on down there. And what we're looking at here are some quite high heels. And P3 not in its correct position, and potentially having lost some bone here at the front too. But in the great scheme of things, are we dealing with separation? Well, it's difficult to tell, because obviously the quality of this X-ray is not brilliant, but we can see that there's quite a lot of opaque stuff going on in there. So that's telling us that this horse has got a confused amount of material in there. Well, it's denser anyway, put it that way. And then if we look at the other foot here, we can see, if I just take my take my red line and we go up to where the top of the coronary groove is, and we go down here. And again, you know, what we're looking at is we're not necessarily looking at hoof wall distorting away, but we're seeing this here. Now, we don't know, because it's not a very good image, how much of this is being rasped back. But we are seeing P3 in the wrong position, very hyper positive. Now, for many people, they might think that looks fine because the digital alignment looks okay. But P3 is definitely too high. And this mare is sore, very sore. She's hurting because she's walking down and the pressure is on this area here. And she was barefoot. And so they shod her and they said that that's the only way that she, you know, because she's unsound, and we hear this a million times, don't we? We need to shoe her to make her better. Now, there's a YouTube story called Dolly. Well, I don't think it's called Dolly. Why are we putting out horses to sleep? We should stop putting horses to sleep, or something like that. When I did a story about Dolly, and this is a similar situation. So we can see that the palmar angle of P3 is not quite right. And if you look at these two images, they're similar. It's like spot the difference, but they're not the same, right? You've got heels that are slightly different, a little bit higher on this one, a little bit lower on this one. What are we looking at when we're looking at the heels? We're looking at this, and we're also looking at the palmar angle. Now, if they'd have looked at this foot and gone, oh, well, the data shows us that this hoof capsule is not being trimmed in balance to its constants. Now, I could absolutely guarantee that if you picked that horse's foot up and you looked at the sole, there would be a mass of material to come off at the heels. You've already got a fair bit of depth here, but there would be some to come off here as well. And in no time at all, with the correct trimming, just following the hard sole plane, you wouldn't have to do any clever realignment or anything like that. In no time at all, you would end up getting P3 back to where it needed to be, just by removing the extra hoof heel that's not meant to be there, just by simply taking it down to the hard sole plane, right? And then that hoof capsule, if it lets me rotate it, would end. Oh no, hold on, I need to join these all up together. Then if we rotate it, that hoof would be then on a different plane. It would then be on that plane because that's disappeared. Now, it's not disappeared because we've hacked the foot away or anything like that. It would simply have disappeared because it would have been trimmed down to the hard sole plane. And then the horse would have been left with this. Still plenty of depth here. Now not orientated on the tip. Obviously, this wouldn't look like this now because this is a joint here that articulates. So this would start to look more upright. And the horse would have walked away. Okay, she would have had to have done a little bit of getting over it for a few weeks. But all in all, she would have been okay. Instead of that, though, because the belief was that this extra horn here somehow miraculously appeared because of some systemic issue, instead of us seeing this, and it does stun me, and I know it stuns Gary, that as hoof care professionals, you can't look at that and go, the hoof capsule's out of balance. It is stunning, isn't it, Gary? It is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
I find it almost incomprehensible that so many people don't get this when it is so simple.
Absolutely.
It is so simple. The only time that it becomes more of a challenge is when there's compaction, but that's not what we're talking about here. If those shoes came off, like you just said, the hoof would show itself.
But absolutely, but the more that you leave it, the more likely that horse is going to compact.
Oh, of course.
So now let's look at these two images. Now this is the second X-ray that was done on this horse. Once they took this X-ray with it in the shoe, and they went, oh well, and then time went by, and then they took another X-ray. Look what happened. Let's just. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to ungroup. Look what happened. If we take that and we put it over here, we can see that certain things are beginning to happen. Now, this actually is a smaller, I don't think I've actually blown it out, but we can start to see things are beginning to happen. This is starting to go up, and the vertical depth is starting to be lost. And I didn't even take that one right down to where it was. And the vertical depth is starting to be lost here. Can you see that? The hoof capsule is starting to look different. And the heels are starting to come up. Now, one of the telltale signs of that is watching this crease develop even more here, and watching the coronary band start to rise. So the coronary band is beginning, you can just see it there, and it comes across there. What's happening is as the heel goes up, the coronary band goes with it, right? As this heel gets longer, and the horse puts his foot in the ground, this changes. And of course, more of the bones are seen inside the hoof capsule. So you can start to see that there is a change. You can clearly see, if I take these lines off, let's just take these lines off so you can see there is a change between that capsule and that capsule. Look at the distance, because this isn't too long between trims. Look at the distance under here. You can see that it's grown down a little bit, because there it is, just sat right on the coronary groove there. And here it's just come down a little bit. So they've gone, oh, we're going to reshoe it. But when they did that, they took away material here. So there's not a lot of time. So the length of this toe is shorter than the length of that toe. Can you see that? Can you clearly see that? I can. Gary can. Look at the nails. The nails are around about the same kind of length they use. Look at the distance from this nail to here, and this nail to here. They've shortened the hoof capsule. Now that is an image that's right there in front of you. Right there in front of you. What did that? What took away this here? Was it the grass the horse was eating? Or was it the hoof care professional obsessing over the toe with a vet that also would likely be obsessing over the toe? And then when you have the heels still in a high position, what starts to happen is the capsule begins to distort. This is what begins to happen. Let's just put this down here. Let's just put that back up here. Let's draw another line in there. Like I said, I haven't prepared anything. It's just, they're not exactly the same here, but let's just group those. And let's take that and put it where it should be, right on where the coronary groove is. And you can start to see what's beginning to happen. They're beginning to remove. If you look at the distance here and here, they've taken away all this material underneath. So the person who was trimming it went for this part instead of this part here. So they went for the front instead of the back. And the palmar angle increased. So not only did they go for the front, but this began to rise. So what's happening is that the hoof capsule is starting to change. And as the hoof capsule, begins to change, as it does this, P3 changes with it. But instead of leaving all of this here, what happens is that they oops, ungroup. And what happens is that they do this. And that's the dotted line. Let's make that dotted. Let's make it a different color. Let's turn it into blue. Let's do another one. Let's make that higher here. And what they're doing each time is allowing the heel to keep going up. So every time this begins, oops, to rotate. Oh, won't let me grab it. There we go. Group. Every time this begins to rotate, instead of that happening and the horse then just reorientating its foot and putting it down, that's not what's happening at all. They continue to remove more and more and more here. Up go the heels, uppity, 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 uppity. So we'd have to come up here with this. And instead of taking heel here, they're leaving this. So this is getting more and more in this triangle here and less in this triangle here. And that distortion causes P3 to move because P3 moves with the hoof capsule. The only thing that did that was the human being. And you can clearly see it between the two. And then if we go over here, it gets even more crazy. The heels have gone up even further and they've removed even more here. So let's just take that. Let's put it over here where it used to be. Doesn't even fit now, look. Nothing fits. And that was on the hoof capsule, can you see? And that was on the hoof capsule here that already had been changed from this one. More and more material is being taken. This wasn't caused by a lamella failure, which caused P3 to rotate. This was caused by a hoof capsule failure, a trimming failure, an error in trimming. Now, what they think is going on, let's just take that down here. They think is going on is they think that P3, let's just draw around P3. Let's just draw around it here. Let's draw about that. So I haven't gone to the palmar processes. I'm just on these two bits. Now, what they think is going on is they think P3 is doing this. That it's rotating away. Boop, boop, boop. It's moving. It's not going anywhere. What's happening is it is rotating. It can't do that. It's not possible for it to do that. They think that this distance here has failed, this attachment, and it's just gone like this. This is what they are imagining. It's not doing that at all. It's a slow, painful distortion of the hoof capsule, which causes P3 to go with it, but all the tissues inside to be distorted, pulled, torn, pushed, crushed, strained, depending on where they're located in the hoof capsule. And that horse is expected to stand on its foot every day. So instead of going all the way back here and dealing with this problem right here, which was very, very simple, they ended up doing that to the hoof capsule. And if you look at the hoof capsules, I think you can appreciate how the heels went up. Look at this distance, look at that distance, look at that distance, and how the toe got shorter. Look at that distance, look at that distance, look at that distance. And at that point then, this tearing, and I'm calling it P3 on the rack, this is what is causing this error here, this error, this separation here, because of this forced tearing of the tissues inside the foot. It is agonizing. And on top of all that, every time they move, remove more and more material, distort more and more of the hoof capsule, because they're doing it visually, subjectively, by eye. They're not looking at any specific decent data points because they haven't got any. And so they're just doing it by eye. And in fact, if you know what you're looking for, Gary and I could walk up to this horse and rebalance it in a heartbeat. We couldn't put back everything underneath here. We have to leave that alone. Hence the reason you get the long toe. Because if you chop this off and you continue to do so, what do you think's going on here? You have to give the foot a chance. It might look ugly, but you have to give it a chance for at least a few months to grow some sole under here, the sole that the human took away. Now, the irony is when we come along and Wex was penetrating, he was in this position. The irony is when we come along and we rotate, we realign this foot here, and you realign it to where it needs to be. So we've now got let's just ungroup that a minute, and let's just put where the hoof capsule should be here. Here we go, where it should be. Once we come along and we've reorientated it, and I have to tell you, this foot is in dire straits right now. It wasn't, but it is now because of all the stretching and tearing that has been going on. You cannot imagine how long that's going to take to try and heal. Now you can see where this is going, can't you? But if we keep chopping that off here and we don't allow this to grow, can you see how much material we need to fill in? And then up here, we're hoping that we've got, enough that this horse has not had, that there's not been so much damage that this horse will actually physically heal in this area here. And honestly, the pictures we showed you last week of the inside of that hoof capsule, this is where this horse is heading. The insult of osteonecrosis, of the pain through the bone here because so much material has been lost, and the insult of all of this stretching, of all of this being crushed, of the extensor tendon being stretched. That is the insult this poor horse is having to deal with every single time. It was a mare. She puts her foot down. Not because she had some systemic disease, but because she had somebody who didn't know how to balance the foot. Somebody who was obsessed with toes, led by somebody else who was obsessed with toes and didn't think about the heels. And that is the vet and the farrier, because she was being shod. All this nonsense about this DDFT causing this. The DDFT, if it was pulling P3 through the capsule, because this is the way that the anatomy works, it would pull the heel off the ground. It didn't put more material in. It's such nonsense. And it is like the emperor's new clothes, isn't it, Gary? It's crazy, and they will fight it to their death, as been proved on the internet today.
Oh yes, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? When you could actually show this basic geometry, is basically what it is, to a 10-year-old child, and they would get it. How do I realign P3? Well, there's just too much at the back and not enough at the front. So it really is that simple. But people are so ingrained in their own beliefs that they have to get loud and angry because they can't just turn around and say, I got it wrong. And human nature is an arse. It really is. Human nature is an arse.
Absolutely. All you have to do, all you have to do in this situation, whether you believe it or not, is actually believe your eyeballs. If this hoof capsule remained the same, they'd have a case.
They would, for sure.
They'd have a case. If the hoof capsule didn't change in any way whatsoever, the toe didn't get shorter, it stayed exactly where it was, exactly the same length. The heels didn't get bigger, it stayed exactly where it was, exactly the same length. Now, the reason that this mare was sore at this moment here is because she was heading, because this was being pulled slowly and gradually away from the hoof wall. But at this stage, she's got damage, but she hasn't got that much damage.
This is an easy fix.
That was an easy fix.
That's an easy fix because you've got a decent amount of sole underneath P3. You've got a bit of hoof to work with, and shoes off. Trim, follow Mother Nature's constants, which is the hard sole plane. Give it a bit of a tidy up. Over one, boots. Potentially two trims, boots for a little bit of extra comfort. Within 6 weeks, those boots would be off, and that horse would be pretty much on a sure footing, for sure.
Yeah, but because even with an X-ray, even by they looked at this and then they ended up with that. You know, spot the difference. Go from that to that, to that, to that, to that, to that, to that, to that. Look at P3. Look at the amount of hoof capsule that surrounds it. Look at it. Go from one to the other, one to the other. If this had stayed the same and we had P3 in a more positive position, then they would have had a case. They would have said, oh, yeah, it's rotating and nothing has happened to the hoof capsule. But no. And this is where we are calling for more critical analysis of these X-rays, sequential photographs. If we're going to be held to high standards, let's have everybody else doing the same thing. Because what we're seeing all over the internet, as was from today, we're seeing hearsay, no true facts, opinions,
huge amounts of assumptions,
massive amount of assumption, and a lot of misinformation, all balled up into a hate fest. I don't think they can even see that it's a hate fest. All because they just can't stand us. They hate us. Now, why would somebody hate somebody else so much? Why would they do that? Is it because that somebody else, us, is calling this out? And we shouldn't. We should remain quiet, Gary. We shouldn't highlight this problem. We should shut up and let it carry on. And let everybody believe when we get to this one here, that appallingly, disgustingly shortened toe, which now doesn't even fit. It doesn't even cover P3 anymore. Here's the coronary groove. And that's what they left this horse with. And then they x-rayed this and said she's about to penetrate. We're so terribly sorry. We can't save her because laminitis has struck again. What was the vet thinking? What was the farrier thinking? Look at the distance between the shoulder of the coronary groove, which is there, to the ground, shoulder of the coronary groove to the ground, shoulder of the coronary groove to the ground. I'm not going to be rude, but honestly, if you can't see that, then I think you're deliberately not seeing that.
I think you touched on it earlier. We are providing sequential x-rays, and I have to say a big thank you to people within the Phoenix page for allowing us to have access to their sequential x-rays, because it is making our life a whole lot easier to be able to prove what we're saying is right. And just like you said earlier, we are being held accountable to a very high standard. Now, if we are being held to this very high standard and we are providing all of this evidence,
So
where
funny,
is all
isn't
the
it?
evidence from the naysayers?
And I read today, I've not seen any evidence. It's all subjective. There's no objective evidence. All right, then here's
Well,
3 x-rays taken by a vet. Should we just line them up and see what happens? Should we? Let's do it. I haven't done this. I have not done this prior to this live. Oh, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm looking at P2, and in fact, actually, if we put that in the right position, we can also help us gain the right account. Digital software like this has so improved the ability for people to be objective and not subjective. It has so improved our ability to do so. So, right, we've got P2 pretty well in there. It's just let's get sorry, P1. So let's get P2. Let's see if we're fitting on P2. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, we're doing that. And then let's just get P3 in alignment. Yeah, we're losing a bit of that tip. We're just, there we are with the navicular bone. Just a teeny weeny little bit there. There we go. We lost it. Right, so there. Now that the next thing that we need to do is we need to bring in a parallel ground surface, right? So this is pretty good because in Canva you can get hold of it and you can see that it's did you see there? If you look at I'm pointing to my screen, can you see how it's changing if we go to 0 degrees? Do you see that?
Yeah, so you know it's level.
Okay. So then the next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that that you're lining up the top of the coronary groove, because if you line it up from the ground, honestly, I will show you by doing it 2 different ways, right? So if we line up the top of the coronary groove, which is, and you can easily see it because you can see the damage that's been on this. Can you see it lining up there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got that one where it needs to be. So now let's take the bottom one, which is that one, and line it up here, parallel with the ground. That's all we're doing. We're lining it parallel to the ground. Let's just make sure that that's, let's just make sure that we've got that in position where it was before. Oh, hello. I need the other one to come back to life. Oh no, we've got that one. I need this one then. That is the beauty, the absolute beauty of doing this. I'm going to make,
lie, does it?
I'm going to make absolutely sure by putting a line across the top of the coronary groove there, right? And then I'm going to get rid of that one. And I'm going to make absolutely sure, because that one needs to just be there. There we go. That's it. Now let's try that again. Oh. There we go. There's your hoof capsule distortion going on right there. Do you see it? Now that does not lie. Watch the toe. Watch the bottom of the screen here, where the toe is. Watch it. What happens?
Disappears.
Watch the heel. Watch this distance here to this line here. Now look at that. That's because the back of the foot is being literally squashed. Diet didn't do that, friends. Right, let's take what should we take? The original one to the very last one, Gary?
Oh, let's do it. Let's face it, that was horrendous enough, wasn't it?
Yeah. So let's do this one now. Let's bring that to the front. And anybody can take X-rays. Vets can do this now, and they can use any kind of software like this, because just thinking about telling differences between photos and X-rays. If you go onto Facebook and people put an X-ray here, then you have to scroll up and put here. You've got no hope. Your chances of finding or seeing the differences are very remote. You put two photographs next to each other, your chances improve. The best way to make sure that you really see the real subtle changes is by putting one on top of the other. Okay, so let's go for this one. And everybody can do this. Get your X-rays from your vet and do this. Learn a little bit of Canva. It's not difficult. Okay. And this is not me being subjective. This is me objectively lining these up. Oh, we got stuff going on there. Yeah, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. And of course, what other things are we taking into consideration here? We have to take into consideration it's not going to be perfect, because we have got other errors, such as X-ray machine operator error, i.e. where they are actually putting the X-ray. So you can see that if they aren't perpendicular to this middle part of the foot here, then they're going to either get more of the back or more of the front. And if they're not, and if they go a bit high or a bit low, they're going to get more of the top or more of the bottom. And that makes a difference. And talking to a radiologist, we've got a radiologist in the family, and we've also got I was talking to a radiologist at the Melbourne workshop. She said depending on where, and this is her job, human radiologist. She said, depending on where she puts the X-ray machine, she can either increase pathology or take pathology away. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. So let's put this straight floor back in, shall we? And what do we got here? We got this. Let's just rotate that and put it in the right position. So we've lined the bones up. We got the bones the right size. Yeah. Now what we're doing is we're making sure that the coronary groove is in the right place, which is just there. And you can see how easy it is. This basically, the foot is becoming like a box now. It looked more like a foot to start with, but now it's becoming like a box. So let's just get that out of the way quickly so you didn't see the difference. And let us make sure this is rotated so it actually, oh, no, not that one. This one. So you're seeing this in real time. Let's make sure that is in line with the ground. It is, pretty much. And then let's make sure that is in line with the top of the coronary groove, pretty much. Okay, so now let's see what happens when we take now I haven't done this, so you're seeing it real time. When we take one to the other. That was the very first X-ray of this horse's foot, this mare's foot, which could have been saved right here, right now, easily. What the world is trying to tell you is that was caused by diet.
And also, when they say that about the diet, they also, and this is what I find absolutely criminal, because they pull the diet card
all the bloody time.
It's the owner's fault.
Yeah.
And guess what? It ain't.
No. The fault of the owner, isn't it? Things like perhaps not getting the horse trimmed regularly enough.
Yeah.
Right. That's one thing that should be. But I have to tell you that most owners are often led by their hoof care professional who say to them, you don't, there's nothing to trim, because they're seeing compaction. There's nothing to trim. So therefore you don't need your horse you don't need your horse trimming. Right. So there are the occasions, and it does happen, where owners go, I can't afford it. I don't want my horse trimmed for 6 weeks. It's going to be 12. These things do happen. But that hoof care professional should then turn back up in 12 weeks' time and put their horse's foot back into, their horse's foot, if it was balanced, should just be growing long. And then that horse, as long as it's moving, of course, we have all the other things that affect balance too, like movement. But that hoof care professional should turn up after that amount of time and be able to put that horse's foot back to where it should be. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And this is the sort of thing that happens. So I've now just put a line. We know we've got it all lined up. We know we've got the bones the right size. We've lined up the coronary groove. And I've now put a line across the bottom of the original foot. So let's just see what now happens. There you go. How much hoof was taken away from this poor horse?
A lot.
This here, look at this up here. Can you see this bit up here, Gary? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Watch that area there. Oh, no, wrong one. This doesn't lie, folks. Watch this now going to become more upright. Watch this. As P3 and the bony column changes, that poor mare, look at her. The insult of having the hoof capsule removed. So it's agonizingly painful to walk on this bit, as well as the agonizing pain of having all her tissues scalped and all her tissues being torn, strained, ripped, squished, squashed, compressed. This, my friends, is the world expecting you to believe them and their diet scenario. This is not subjective. This is using x-rays that any vet could have done and put them and overlaid them, lined up the bones. Are we going to be out by point so much of a mil? Potentially, but we're not talking point so much of a mil here, are we? Look at this hoof wall. Look at it. Because this here is quite close to the coronary band. Look over time. If I go back to the original, where is it? I don't know if I got rid of it. Oh, there it is. This happened in fairly quick succession. They did this because she wasn't getting better. So they came back and they did more. And you know what they did? Because she wasn't getting better and it looked long to them, they took more toe off. And then they came back and they went, oh my God, she's not getting better. The DDFT must be pulling it through. We'll leave this and take more toe off. It's disgusting what's going on. And we are being hammered all over Facebook for being... for telling untruths. I saw a comment today where somebody said, on a big post that was bashing us, where somebody said, oh, you mean those people who say that rotation isn't down to diet, it's down to hoof care, that rubbish. And the person with the big page went, yeah, them. Okay, lovely. Well, let's look. I've not made this up. I have not manipulated those images in any way whatsoever. There has been no hocus pocus, no magicry. I am not a magician. I am not trying to fox you. I have just shown you precisely what has happened to this horse's foot. You have seen it right here, right now. Look at the distance. Look at this. And all the time, can you see this starting to look really damaged in there? That was the start. 3 x-rays on. Look. Look at the distance between the nails and up here. They're lying to you, folks. Well, I don't know whether it's lying, really. I think they're just... think about it. The world is subjectively trimming horses' feet, not objectively. They love to use these words, so I'm going to use them. If you go along and you trim a horse's foot to what you believe is correct, and we lined up 100 hoof care professionals, each one of them would be slightly different to the one before, because they're not following constant. We line up 100 of our hoof care professionals, and each one of them is not guessing. None of them feel like they don't really know. They're not quite sure. They just follow the hard sole plane. It becomes a problem, of course, with compaction, but then we know how to deal with that. But 100 hoof care professionals, and think about this, extrapolate that out to the world. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them. There are over 4,000 farriers in the UK alone. If you extrapolate that, and a lot of them are concentrated around areas like London. Well, there were 4,000 farriers in the UK, and I think it's dropping, actually, while horses rise. We've got a problem. Each one of those has their own little way of doing something. We know that because when we go on to the workshops and we get all these shod feet and we put them all in front of us and we get everybody to put their shod feet up, they're all slightly different. Not because the horse is an individual, because I could take these bones and I could superimpose them on another horse's bones. We have slight differences between the sizes of P2, P3 and P1, depending on the size of the horse. But the ratios and the positions of P3 and the hoof capsule are very, very, very consistent. And yet you have people who are going out there who are, and I don't care how much they say that they're doing it right. If you have one person leaving the heels, and I know because I do this job. If you leave the heels above what you are being shown, then you are guessing. 100 people, ask them how much heel needs to be left. This farrier obviously clearly thought quite a lot. Now, you cannot say that this is neglected hoof care. This owner was throwing everything at this horse. Everything, because she wanted to save her. Cost her a fortune to cripple and kill her horse. It cost her a fortune. An absolute fortune for them to maim, lame her horse and cause immense suffering. Bloody hell.
It's just bloody rubbish, isn't it? What can you say?
And yeah, all they go on about, isn't it? All they go, the long toes, it's a welfare. That's not the welfare problem. The bloody welfare problem is what I've just shown you.
If you are causing that amount of distortion and you cannot see it because that hoof pastern axis is absolutely beautiful. Because
we didn't say that. If you looked at every one of those X-rays, you were right.
The hoof pastern axis
is what he was trimming to.
Because that's what he was trimming to. Because that's what they're taught. Because of that hoof pastern axis, they're following that's why they're obsessed with the front of the foot. To balance the foot, you've got to concentrate on the back. They've got to ass backwards. How much the whole foot is important, isn't it? The whole foot, the way that everything biologically connects within the foot, everything plays a part. But let's have a look at the foot. They concentrate on the front of the foot. What is at the front of the foot? Compared to the back of the foot, bloody nothing. Is it the front of the foot? At the back of the foot, there is an immense amount of structures, connective tissues, frog.
In comparison.
So in comparison to the front of the foot, the back of the foot has actually got so much of the important stuff. I'm not saying that the front is less important because it's all got to work together. But if you distort the back of the foot, oh my God, you are having much more of an effect on that whole being, because over 2/3 of the foot is the back. It's the digital cushion. It's the DDFT. It's the navicular. Oh, and hold on a minute. That's exactly what we have all the problems with. It's ridiculous.
They don't like
absolutely
it, Gary,
ridiculous.
because nobody likes a whistleblower, do they?
Well, we ain't going away. So,
no,
like you said, you're holding us to very high standards. You may be pointing the finger. Now, you're pointing the finger because you don't understand what we're saying, or you're only cherry picking because you're not nice people and you don't get to see everything that we produce.
Right, or hardly anything that we produce.
But guess what? It's coming. So, if you want a level playing field, get your house in order, because it's coming.
It's coming because now it's on. I mean, game on.
Gloves are off.
Absolutely, game on. The fight is on. The gloves are off. Now we're not doing that to be.
No, this is not being big-headed.
We're doing this for the horses.
This is because it's right and true. That's all.
We've now got too much digital possibility, digital software. We've got stuff that people didn't have back in the day. They had eyeballs back then, and then they had like films, and they put, and that's not that long ago. It's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, digital, and really only people have been using it for the last 10 years properly. You know, they used to put films over each other, you know, and sort of, and fade and try and move it around. Things are changing. And I put a post up the other day about venograms, and so many, and a group of people shared it, including a vet who doesn't like what we do because he does what I've just shown you. I've just shown you that's the sort of stuff he does. And he shared it and went, oh, well, obviously, if you drive a car wrong, it's not going to work, or something along those lines. Of course, we all need to do it, correctly. The problem is they're not doing it correctly, are they? Yes, we all know that it should be done correctly. And they're going, oh, they're highlighting something that's obvious. Yes. But it's still not done, is it? Across the board? No. And what's more, you're using more and more of these diagnostic tools like venograms to show pooling in different areas of the foot when you move the foot in different positions. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But the point is what are you doing to the hoof capsule? And they use these to defend jacking the horse's foot even further and further up. I want to see these horses with massive wedges succeeding when they take the shoe off, because they're being damaged.
Yeah.
They're being damaged.
Yeah.
And there are no standards in hoof care. There never has been. There never has been, because nobody's done it. There are no standards in laminitis research. Nobody ever went, oh, well, let's have a look at the hoof capsules. Should we measure them? Not arbitrary angles and lines, actual proper data, proper measurements. And it's coming because we're getting the ability now. The software's getting cheaper. It's coming. In a minute, you're going to be able to take a photograph of a hoof and it will instantly be able to do all the measurements because it'll instantly calibrate. We have software now that will do it with calibrations, blocks, etc., but they're expensive. So not everybody can use them. But I tell you, with apps, we've come on so far. Next 10 years, it's going to be there. People are going to take a photograph of a hoof and it's going to go vroom, and it'll say, this should be the ideal shape of this horse's foot, and you are off by so much. I tell you, it's coming.
It is.
And at that point, then you can eat your words, frankly, because if you prove to us we are wrong. I've just come online now on YouTube with Gary live for the world to see, and I've just objectively taken x-rays of the same horse, taken at short intervals, and I've lined them up as best I can as possible. The best way to tell the difference between two pictures or an x-ray is to line them up. And x-rays are brilliant because you can, my eyes flicking, because you can line up the bones. You go and find me sequential x-rays of a normal foot that has not changed. The hoof capsule's not changed one slight bit, not once. And you show P3 rotating. You'll never find it.
You'll never find it. So
you'll never find it.
The gloves are off. We are an open book. We show you everything. If you're nice and you're part of the in crowd. If you're not part of the in crowd, well, then you're going to be left behind. So
but we can't block people on YouTube.
No,
at all. So we can block people who are rude and abusive on Facebook. So this is, you're welcome.
You're
welcome. This is number 46. You're welcome. 46. And I've done now 104 of my own little lives. You're welcome. Off you go. And it's not rocket science lessons. Free. Yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Now, come on, step up.
Yeah. Don't do the opinions. Don't do the hate. Don't do the subjective nonsense.
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Absolutely.
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, because it's coming.
And we're watching people and what they're saying. We're taking screenshots. We've got it all. That's what we've been advised to do legally. That what we do is we sit back, we take the screenshots, we watch.
And we wait.
We gather the evidence and we wait, and we continue to do the datas and the measurements. We've got people being defamatory. We've got commercial defamation. We've got people who are calling us names all over Facebook, telling lies about us. Whether they believe them or not, they're not true. They're inaccurate. We've got it all. We're just sitting on it. Because what we're doing is we're getting data. We're getting information. We're taking sequential X-rays. Because you know what? I want to make sure that we're right too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't want to be caught with my pants down. Thank you very much. I want to make sure that we are right too.
And so there's a challenge out there, isn't there? That do you, as an individual, whether you are a body worker, a horse trainer, a vet, a farrier, a hoof trimmer, can you, with your hand on your heart, say that we're wrong? Are you just going off of outdated traditional beliefs? Is it outdated science? Science is progressive. We're just providing the new science.
We're pushing.
So, do you, in the next 5 to 10 years, want to be one of those people? It takes a bit of soul searching. I
think what they've done is they've convinced themselves, Gary, that we're nuts.
Well,
and so
I think they're not wrong, because who would want to take on this battle? Oh my God. I'm sure if we were 10 years ago, if we had been warned and had, one of those time machines, would we have taken it on?
It is awful. It is awful.
So. But do you know what? What was it somebody said today? You're far enough in now. It's either
see it through or give up.
Give it up or see it through. And guess what?
We're seeing
it through. So bring it on. The evidence is coming, and lots of it.
And you out there,
you're going to have to back your evidence up and all. You've got to step up now. This is a warning, but it's not a threat, because
it's just a warning that it's coming.
Even though people can be really horrible, I actually have to believe that most people are out there wanting to help horses. I really have to believe that, because otherwise my faith in humanity would hit rock bottom. But you've got to do a bit of soul search. Hand on your heart. Are we balmy? We've been around for 20 years helping horses. Do you really think we're that balmy? Do you really think that our page would be up to, what is it, nearly 12,000 people now in less than 2 years? And I have to say, we've probably got rid of half that. Because people don't play nice.
No. So out
they go, because we have to protect our members. We really do, because they are part of progress. So, yes, this is a polite warning. It's coming. Bash us all you like. The success speaks for itself. It really does. And that's not big-headed. It really isn't. We're not big-headed. We live in a little hameau in the middle of France, sat at our desk, helping people and their horses, and teaching our amazing pros and helping our hoof heroes all over the world. Every single day.
Saturday and Sunday.
All day long. That don't lie. So when you are doing that, and when you've got that amount of data coming into us, and we can critically assess that we are getting it right, are you all doing the same? Not from what I'm seeing.
Not from what we're seeing.
Not
It's
from
all
what I'm seeing.
opinions, anecdotal. You got us for anecdotal. We've stepped up. Now it's time for you to step up. All right, we better go. I got to
Cool.
go help my mama.
Thanks for joining. We had a bit of a rant, but it's with the best will in the world to help horses stop suffering and needless deaths.
Keep fighting, Phoenix Warriors. Stay with us. We're getting
Thanks
there.
for your support.
All right, my darlings. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Bye.